Death was on its way to Britain's streets. Hidden aboard a sleek cruiser, the MV Albernina, slicing through the black waves of the English Channel, an arsenal of automatic weapons lay coiled like a viper. Silent, loaded, ready to strike. August 2015. Under a moonless sky, the boat closed in on Kent's sleeping coastline. Below deck, oil-wrapped Skorpion machine pistols, VZ-58 assault rifles, silencers, thousands of rounds, enough firepower to start gang wars, settle scores in blood, or fuel a terrorist's nightmare. Behind it all, ex-cons, ex-military traffickers, black market fixers, working through encrypted networks, and Eastern Europe's darkest corners. They thought the Channel would bury their secret. They were dead wrong, because while they moved in the shadows, the NCA was already watching. Covert agents, GPS trackers hidden on vessels, encrypted messages cracked wide open, a trap set just miles from the drop. Had they succeeded, this, Britain's biggest ever automatic weapons bust, could have unleashed carnage we'd still be counting today. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to see isn't fiction. This nearly happened, and it could have been your city, your street, your family. Swanley, Kent, the kind of place where danger feels far away, but behind closed doors, something darker was building. Harry Shilling, just 25, was done with small-time dealing. Cocaine kept the cash flowing, but guns offered something far bigger: power, fear, total control. He wasn't doing it alone. Shilling had built his crew. Michael Defraine, 30, the logistics guy with Eastern European hookups. Richard Hale, 34, the courier who moved anything, no questions asked. David Payne, 43, a skipper who knew the English Channel like the back of his hand. Christopher Owen, 30, the muscle, there when things got heavy. And lurking on the sidelines, John Smale, 58, and Jennifer Arthey, 42, playing shadowy, silent roles. The plan? Simple, ruthless, profitable. Buy military-grade weapons cheap from Europe's black market, smuggle them into the UK, and flood Britain's streets with firepower. Gang wars, contract killings, mass bloodshed. How far were they willing to go? The answer was waiting, just across the water. The weapons didn't come from war zones. They came from a loophole, Partizanskie, Slovakia. Inside one nondescript warehouse, a legal loophole flourished. They called them acoustic expansion weapons, deactivated rifles and pistols, perfectly legal, on paper, sold openly under Slovak law, but behind closed doors, in back rooms where neon flickers and cash trades hands, it took just a hammer, a rod, and minutes of work to turn harmless metal into fully functioning machines of death. Shilling's crew saw their opening. The order was massive. 22 Czech VZ-58 assault rifles, lighter than AK-47s, 7.62mm rounds, 800 rounds per minute, enough to shred body armor in seconds. 9 Skorpion machine pistols, compact, deadly, designed for close quarters, silent executions. The cost, £120 each. The black market value in London, up to £4,000 per weapon. A single shipment, now worth a fortune. Packed tight, 1,058 rounds, 58 magazines, 2 silencers, all boxed, stacked, and ready to unleash absolute carnage. This wasn't politics, it wasn't ideology. This was greed, pure and simple. They weren't thinking about the bodies, they were thinking about the profits, and the shadows only grew darker. Just months earlier, in January 2015, a near-identical Slovakian route had armed the Charlie Hebdo attackers in Paris. Who were they arming? London's gangs, rival factions, or something far more dangerous? In Partizanskie, the supplier simply shrugged. Another deal closed, another shipment on the move. The arsenal rolled through Belgium's ports, loaded onto a boat, its hull heavy with weapons. The buyer's shadow loomed, but so did something else. Eyes watching, closing in. August 10th, 2015. The MV Albernina slices across the English Channel. A 38-foot luxury cruiser gleaming white and blue against the grey chop. But this isn't a pleasure cruise, this is a weapon run. Days earlier, it slipped out of Boulogne-sur-Mer, France, bought under a fake name, paid for with Harry Shilling's drug money. No customs, no red flags, just another rich man's toy drifting through open water. But below its pristine hull, in waterproof holdalls stashed like contraband treasure, lies a floating arsenal primed to ignite Britain's underworld. David Payne, 43, grips the helm, his weathered face carved by years on the water. The plan is razor sharp: cross the channel overnight, slip into Cuxton Marina by midday August 11th, unload, vanish into Kent's veins. Payne's eyes scan the horizon, steady but taut. Does he sense the shadows trailing him? Christopher Owen, 30, and John Smale, 58, move like ghosts. Gloves on, no words, hauling bags to a white van idling at the quay. Each holdall thuds softly, heavy with chaos. No mistakes, no second chances. But what they couldn't see were the eyes watching, hidden across the river. NCA operatives, crouched in reeds, lenses trained, capture every glint of sweat, every shift of cargo. Operation 70, sparked by a Europol whisper of Balkan arms routes, has stalked Shilling's crew for months, tracking travel patterns, phone signals, encrypted texts that hum with coded dreams. Bologna CCTV caught Payne loading. Dover radar traced the boat's path. The NCA lets the drop play out, heartbeats sinking with each bag's transfer. The guns touch British soil, a line crossed. Locals sip coffee nearby, unaware their marina cradles a powder keg. What if one bag had slipped away? This wasn't luck, this was a noose tightening, and the crew didn't even know the clock had run out. The net was closing, the arrests were seconds away, and Cuxton's peaceful marina was about to explode into action. August 11th, 2015. The white van rumbles out of Cuxton's sleepy marina, its tires spitting gravel on a narrow Kent track. Then, chaos erupts. NCA armed officers swarm like wolves, black vans screeching, rifles glinting low. Christopher Owen and John Smale, gloves still clinging to their hands, are slammed against the van's side, faces pale under floodlights. Unzipped holdalls spill their truth. 31 guns, 22 VZ-58s, 9 Skorpions, 1,058 rounds, 2 silencers, a war chest for Britain's underworld. No escape, no lies. The cargo betrays them, but the net's only half drawn. In Orpington, a home-based car park hums with suburban normalcy. Harry Shilling, 25, paces, clutching spades and heavy-duty bags, his empire's edge within reach. Michael Defraine, 30, stands cool, eyes scanning. Then the NCA strikes again. Officers flood the lot, boots pounding asphalt. Shilling staggers, face ashen, gasping in a full-blown panic attack as cuffs snap tight. Defraine freezes, his calm a thin veil over defeat. Nearby, Richard Hale, 34, is yanked from the shadows, his DNA, later found on a silencer. Already a noose. Back at Cuxton Marina, David Payne, 43, the grizzled skipper, is cuffed beside the MV Albernina, his sailors poised, drowned in floodlights. Operation 70, sparked by Europol's tip on Balkan arms routes, orchestrated this takedown with surgical precision. Months of surveillance, phone pings, coded texts, Boulogne CCTV culminated in hours. French and Dutch intel tightened the trap. Every face caught, every move filmed. Cuxton locals, sipping pints nearby, froze as sirens pierced the dusk. "That's our marina," a barman muttered, fear creeping in. The crew thought they were ghosts, untouchable. But the NCA saw everything. Yet one vault remained uncracked, their blackberries, locked with secrets that could bury them deeper. What truths hid in those digital shadows, waiting to unravel their empire? In the quiet of a Kent police lockup, a stack of blackberries lies silent. Sleek, black, their screens dark as the secrets they guard. PGP encryption, coded texts, no names, remote wipes. The crew's digital fortress, built to outsmart any pursuer. They believed their whispers were untouchable, their plans buried in an unbreakable vault. But the National Crime Agency didn't flinch. These phones weren't just devices, they were the crew's undoing, waiting to confess. The handsets were boxed, shipped across the Atlantic to a Canadian forensic lab. a sterile warren of glowing screens and humming servers where specialists waged war on encrypted shadows. Weeks of relentless work, cracking algorithms, chasing digital ghosts, unlocked the BlackBerry's secrets. The messages spilled like blood. Shilling's bravado blazed in one text: "We now officially gangsters." His arrogance a neon flare. Defraine's coded deals with Slovakian suppliers mapped a pipeline of death. Hale's GPS data pinned him to Cuxton Marina, his van idling at the drop. Payne's updates tracked the MV Albernina's path. Owen's terse replies confirmed his role in the unload. Timestamps synced with NCA surveillance: Boulogne, Cuxton, Orpington, each ping a nail in their coffin. The texts weren't just boasts, they were a manifesto for chaos. 30 more pieces next time, one read, hinting at repeat runs. Another crowed, "Armed to the teeth, no one wants beef, fam." The crew's swagger blinding them to the net tightening. Every message was a thread in a damning web, weaving ambition to downfall. The NCA analysts saw the bigger picture, not one shipment, but a blueprint for an underworld arsenal. Who were they arming? The question burned, unanswered. The phones didn't just betray the crew, they exposed their hunger, their hubris, their fatal misstep. This digital confession would soon face the Old Bailey's glare, where jurors would see the crew's own words carve their fate. What would justice make of men who thought they'd outrun the truth? February 2016. London's Old Bailey looms like a fortress. Armed guards shadow every door, their eyes scanning for threats. Jurors, faces taut, sit behind protective screens, their breaths shallow as grainy CCTV flickers on a courtroom monitor. Frame by frame, Cuxton Marina unfolds. The room leans in. Here's the drop that could have bled Britain dry. Prosecutors weave a relentless case. 22 Czech VZ-58 assault rifles, armor shredding at 800 rounds a minute. 9 Skorpion machine pistols, built for silent kills, one loaded in the van, a trigger pull from chaos. Harry Shilling's fingerprints mar a holdall, his ambition etched in grime. Richard Hale's DNA clings to a silencer, a ghostly signature. Decrypted BlackBerry texts, Shilling's boasts, Michael Defraine's coded orders. Burn away denials. The intended buyer? A shadow, unnamed. But London's gangs, hungry for power, were ready to pay. The defense crumbles, lies no match for forensic truth. Jurors flinch as the judge, voice like thunder, warns of carnage unseen in decades. Smale and Arfie, peripheral figures, slip free, evidence too thin to hold them. But for Shilling, Defraine, Hale, Payne, and Owen, the verdict lands like a guillotine. Guilty. Shilling and Defraine, convicted of smuggling and conspiracy to endanger life. Hale, Payne, and Owen, bowed by their pleas. This wasn't a petty crime. It was a blueprint for chaos, inches from reality. Spectators, families, reporters, exchange haunted glances. Could these guns have torn their streets apart? The courtroom holds its breath, awaiting the final reckoning. June 2016. The Old Bailey. The air barely moves as Judge Michael Topolsky locks eyes with the men who almost armed Britain's underworld. A sophisticated plot to endanger countless lives, he calls it. Then came the hammer blows. Harry Shilling, 20 years. Michael Defraine, 17 years. Richard Hale, 14 years, 3 months. David Payne, 14 years, 6 months. Christopher Owen, 5 years, 4 months. Over 71 years combined. The judge's warning cut through the room. These weapons were destined for catastrophe. The NCA's Rob Lewin echoed, "We can only guess who would have paid the price. Gangs, criminals, or innocents." But even as the cell doors slammed shut, shadows remained. The buyer, still unknown. The van, it had made prior trips. The question, did other guns already slip through? In Cuxton, the community was shaken. "My kids play by that marina," a mother told reporters, her voice trembling. Families paid too. Payne's wife, a school teacher, lost their home to legal fees. Shilling's family faced public scorn in Swanley. And the system responded. £20 million spent on AI scanners, drone patrols, and stricter EU firearm laws by 2016. But the risk never fully vanished. In 2023, 15 Skorpions seized in Dover hinted at one chilling truth. The Balkan routes are still alive. This wasn't a win. It was a near miss. The underworld doesn't sleep, and the next shipment could already be on the move. Were these sentences enough? Or was this just a brief pause in a much darker game? Could those guns have reached your street? Drop your thoughts below. Your voice keeps this story alive. And don't forget, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and turn on notifications, because here, the shadows never stop moving.